All right, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I come before you because the Canton Police Department is tasked with being the first in the line of response for such crises. Last week, with the eyes of every woman in Norfolk County and frankly the world upon you, I watched in horror at the events that unfolded at the discretion of the chair. What can only be described as absolute hysteria. I mean that as a pejorative. Mr. Muse, Dr. Muse, I believe you to be an intelligent, accomplished, and forward-thinking member of the community. You serve our town, a Brockton hospital, medical education company, and the Commonwealth drafting MOUs for municipalities. Originally, in a fit of rage, I drafted a lesson for your benefit on contamination and sterile technique. But as cooler heads prevailed, you will all be relieved to know you won't be hearing that tonight. Instead, I'm going to draw your attention to an article in the Georgetown Law Review titled, Trust Me, I'm a Doctor, Medical Malpractice as a Dauber-Free Zone. This is not an ER. This is not a dauber-free zone. Uncertainty, rate of error, failure, these are all quantifiable, they need access to the data is basically what it boils down to, buddy. The Dauber standard in Massachusetts was adopted for a child rape case involving biological evidence, friends. I don't even know what to say to you. Do no harm. Didn't you take that? Tenant, we, the women of this community, are here to tell you you are harming us. Under your MOU, under the licensing board in the state, the standard of care we expect is not what you are providing to our community. I'm appalled, to be honest with you, and God help you, because, sir, like, that was an embarrassment. I've never seen a municipal meeting run the way you ran that meeting. Plenty of people in town, no other people in town, and can still hold their composure and conduct themselves productively with decency in a non-discriminatory way. So please take that in mind moving forward.
Hi, I'm Jan Chamberlain, and I'm just here to kind of beg, ask, plead with the committee to move forward tonight, to not look backwards, to keep your eyes focused on the prize, which is finding a group that will complete the audit, the police audit for the town of Canton, to not get caught up in name calling, to not get caught up in arrogance, aggressiveness, to work as the collegial, cohesive group that you were asked to do and appointed to by the town. As our chair, you set the tone, Mr. McCarthy. I have worked with you at the Kennedy School before when that project was going forward. I was the principal then. You need to work with this group the way you did with the school community then. I'm a trustee of the library. You are part of that building renovation committee. You need to work with this group the way you work as the building renovation committee person. You work with a lot of groups in town. For whatever reason, you're not working well with this group. I think the reason is because you didn't want the audit. It's over, it's done, it's happening. Now you need to move your committee forward. No more eye rolling, no more name calling, no more disparagement. Work together as a cohesive, collegial, intelligent group. Please finish the task you were given.
Okay, Rita Lombardi, I have nothing planned tonight, so I'm sure you'll be happy about that. But I will say this, that the last meeting, it was a disgrace. I listed out all of the violations that you all had, except Mr. Kelly, and it's over 44. So complaints are going out, and I'm going to be giving the email addresses for everybody. But that meeting is an embarrassment. But what is even more, and it's more than an embarrassment, is that none of the leaders in this town stepped forward to say that behavior is unacceptable. No one did. What does that do for the town of Canton? That makes it look like that behavior is okay. And I have to tell you, it's not okay. It's not okay to talk to people the way you did. It's not okay. It's not okay to violate rules that you're supposed to do. It's not okay to be disrespectful to people. It's not okay. And for our leaders, the chief of police who went into a diversity meeting, and she's in the diversity meeting, and for her to take issue with Kathleen using the word whatever it is, that old word about cavemen. And she said, thank you very much. I still don't know what it means, or I just don't know how to say it. But for the chief of police not to take issue when she took issue with that one single word, that speaks volumes about the town. For the select board to be silent, that speaks volumes about this town. And I want you to know, Bob, okay, I know you're in the building arena. I know that's what your background is, and you're in the Galvin Middle School. But after seeing the performance in this meeting last week, I cannot support the Galvin Middle School assignment. I cannot support the rebuilding of the Galvin Middle School with this kind of behavior. I cannot. We are here because we have a problem in this town. And if we do not pick the right company, and that's even if it's in this mix of 5 or whatever you have, if we do not pick the right company, we're just throwing money away. We're either going to do the audit or we're not going to do the audit. And if this isn't the right time because we don't have enough of valid bids, I don't know. If it's not, then maybe we need to consider rejecting the bids and putting them back out and cleaning up and putting more information into the scope. I don't know. Maybe you have it. All I know is we need to get it right. So if we have somebody in these 5 companies who can help us get it right, great. If not, do the right thing, please. Do the right thing. It's for our town. If you love this town, show us. Show us you love this town and do the right thing. Please, I'm asking you.
I keep hearing comments about how $200,000 is the absolute limit and we're not going a penny over. And the Finance Committee and the Select Board have reiterated that we can go and we can ask for more. So I want to make sure that that's on record at this meeting, that we can go and we can ask for more if we have to. I'm not saying we're going to have to. Maybe we have someone that will meet the criteria that we want and the price that we need. But if that's an issue, I want it on record that we were told by the Select Board and the Finance Committee that we can go back and we can ask if we need to. Thank you.
Want me to see if anybody out there wants to come in and speak? Hey, does anybody out there want to speak?
Good evening. I'm a Freilich. I've been here 150 years. My family has been. I'm not here to talk about all the other things that are going on because that's for another day. Today's about an audit. Yeah? Okay. So the people spoke. They voted on an election. The majority wins. So what I ask of you today is that collectively you do your job. Get the paperwork right. Give them some ample time to get all the things they need to get done. Dot the I's, cross the T's. Give them enough money allotted to take care of the audit. Because we don't have anything to hide, right? So there's no reason to not do it the right way. Everything else we can deal with another time. Today is, I don't want my town to be the catastrophe that's going on for the next 100 years. Every time a social media Google search is done on Canton, Mass, I'm pretty sure no one wants this. So let's move in a right direction so I don't have to come back here, because I don't want to come back here. Are we in agreement? Thank you for your time.
Bob, you have the same name as my father, a man that I respect. I am not from this town, but I have worked in this town with my longtime partner, Jeffrey Farrington, that has a small business on Walpole Terrace, and I have been harassed by corrupt cops and your other corrupt Canton cop, Charlie Ray, who wanted the property back when Jeff bought that business in 2012. Okay? I've come out and I've been outspoken. I've been silent for years working on Walpole Terrace. And I've been silent for a long time after sexual predator cops have come and harassed me at my place of business when I was there alone. Unwarranted tickets with no bullshit nonsense, okay? No substance to any of these tickets that were issued to me. And I've been silent. And I started speaking out. And I've had mothers come up to me telling me that their daughter, they don't want to buy their daughters cars because they don't trust the Canton Police Department and what they're all about. We need to do better for our community. You need to understand, Bob, that Canton, Massachusetts is the laughing stock of the world, not America, the world. You guys are international. International. You need to do better. And I don't know anything about the Gavin school, whatever, and what's going on with that vote. But if you're in charge of children, you need to figure it out, because there are women and children out there that are worried for their lives. As I am a strong, outspoken business owner with my boyfriend, and I feel uncomfortable being in the town of Canton by myself. And I got the backbone and I got the fucking balls, and I'm here, Bob. Do fucking better. Do better. That last fucking meeting you had was a disgrace. And I'm calling you Kim Jong-un because of that. This is not a dictatorship. We're not in North Korea. We're in Canton, Massachusetts. Do better. Collaborative work together. Thank you.
This is to you, sir. My name is John Delgado. 1475 Washington Street in Canton, directly across the street from the police. If that doesn't open your eye on what happened there, only 6 feet under would do that for you. Just follow up, ask the chief of police. The complaint from the neighbor, 1475. With the collaboration of the Canton Police, some builders in Canton, they park a machine in the wee hours of the morning. They destroyed Janet Pratt. Janet Pratt, I'm sure you know the lady. 1475. They destroy her property. The only sin she committed, she went on Facebook and recommended her grandson my work. This is the same man, except from court. The police, the judge told this person from Canton, you come to Delgado's house again and call him a nigger and says you're going to be shot in the head again, you go to jail. They said, will be the second time you've done that. Right after the judge stayed there, Rafferty went all the way down the Cape and delivered beers to the same person who had called me a nigger and warned me I was going to be shot in the head. That's your chief of police, Rafferty. That is important for this audit to go on, sir. Thank you.
I think everyone here knows why the audit needs to take place. There is no trust in the police department anymore. There's none. These people in this town need someone to deliver truth and transparency. Let us find out what's been going on and repair it, fix it, mend it, so these people can go on with their lives, knowing that the police department can be trusted, the leadership can be trusted, and it's up to all of you to do that. Get the process underway, come to an agreement so these people can go to bed at night knowing they feel safe. Why can't that happen in a reasonable time frame? And why can't you get collectively in agreement on something to move forward? Forget about arguing and disagreeing. Get something moving forward so these people can go to bed at night feeling safe and sound. That's all it's about. They feel like they're not being protected. And this committee is supposed to be so that an audit can come in and at least let them know what is wrong, what needs to be fixed, and what can be improved moving forward. But at least give them the sense that you care about what they want and move forward and do the right thing. It's your job now to do that. So get the process going so that they can at least feel as if their voice is heard and things are being done.
Yeah, it's Jack Hardy. I have no trust in the Canton Police Department, none. 2003, I took one of your officers to court for undue influence against the elderly. He tried scamming my 95-year-old uncle by bringing him to another Canton cop who just happened to be a lawyer and changed the will and kicked me out. I took them to Dedham Superior Court and I friggin' won. Your cop was found guilty of undue influence against them, the elderly, and his name was Tom Kelleher Sr. And I wouldn't trust any of these son of a bitches. They need the audit now.
You proud to be from Canton? Just shake your head, because it's just a, okay. And you should be proud that all these people come here. Okay, so they can get the right thing done with the police. Okay, don't do that, okay? You should be proud of your community that want this audit done. So get it be done, stop bashing people, stop belittling women, and get it done. I'm sure your mom wouldn't be proud of the way you're acting. At all. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Anybody else?
My name's Dina. I'm not from Canton, but I've been watching on TV what's happened and the way you disrespected at the last meeting, and the world's watching this. We're backing all these people up because they're trying to save their town, and you guys are almost like laughing in their faces. They're out here fighting. They're trying to do the right thing. All these people that are standing out here, a lot of us aren't even from Canton, but we're here, we're watching Rita and Jen and all these people here fighting for their community. You got a beautiful, small little town here that you can save and do the right thing with this police audit. There's nothing to hide. If you find problems, then you fix them. That's the way you fix it. You have loving, caring human beings here, and you're treating them like terrible. I hope you don't talk to your mother with that mouth. But that's all I got to say, and I'm proud of all you women standing up and showing the world how strong you are. Don't stop, especially for people like that.
Hey, I just wanted to say there you go. I'm a former procurement officer for a neighboring town. I have 38 years experience in procurement, and I've watched some of your meetings, and I have to say how completely unprofessional it's been. As a procurement official, I've sat in on these meetings for my own town, and never has the politics gotten involved the way it has here. Instead, as a procurement official, it was always my duty to make sure that things were done in a very kind way, that things were done in an educated way, and that a process was actually carried forward. And instead, I'm not seeing that. And I don't know who Canton's procurement officer is, but they needed to be a part of this. I'm interested in seeing your whole process because from what I'm seeing now and just what your agenda is, I have some real concerns that they may be against what Chapter 30B requires to be done. So I really want to see your results. I'd like to see your how you categorize things by highly advantageous, advantageous. I see that you want to change the requirements, and I've never in 38 years seen requirements changed. You can change other things after you've accepted proposals, but you can't change what your minimum criteria is and what your requirements are. So you really need to be careful because the Secretary of State's office will probably be getting involved in your process. So please act like professionals. Like I say, 38 years. I have never, ever, if people on my committee ever acted this way for the neighboring town, that committee would have been shut down immediately. And it's really sad to see. You know, I'm not involved in all of this other stuff, but just as an outsider looking at your procurement process and the committee and the way people are treating each other, it would have been shut down immediately. And I'm sorry that the town of Canton doesn't have somebody on this committee, or even as somebody who is there to assist, to say, wait a minute, we're stopping this right now. And usually it is the procurement person. It's their responsibility as a procurement person to make sure that things are followed by the state law. Chapter 30B is extremely explicit on how it needs to be done, and I'm sorry, but I'm not seeing that the process has been followed on this.
We have completed our 20 minutes. Thank you all.
So what do you do now? Go on with the meeting?
We're going to start a meeting if we have...
Does anybody want to volunteer to leave so the people outside can come in and sit down? Great, thanks.
Keep it classy, Bob.
Go ahead, you can bring 5 people in.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question about the first item on the agenda. Would you prefer that I ask it after a motion has been made and seconded, or that I ask it prior to that motion?
Why don't we get it on for discussion first?
See you soon, Bob. See you soon.
Yeah. Is that a threat? Chief, are we all set? Are we able to continue?
Sure.
Okay. We'll now discuss and vote on adjusting the removal requirements listed in the RFP on the bids received. Can we have some quiet, please?
Okay, you're welcome.
We had 2 people not meet the requirements that were in the RFP. We were missing certificate of compliance, certificate of non-compliance and tax compliance on 2 of them. And one of them also had the certificate of liability, and one of them also failed to provide the numbers on the FedEx. Initially, they were rejected. Decided after listening to some others to bring it back up and put them back on. Normally, they would just be rejected, but Kathleen, you had a question on that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to point out, I have here the Chapter 30B manual, which is from the OIG, the Office of the Inspector General, and the Office of Inspector General oversees the spending of public money, and it's so important that they have a whole agency dedicated to this. And in this manual, which is the official word from the OIG as to how this law, which is known as 30B, what it means, it says on page 54, in determining the responsiveness of a proposal, you must waive minor informalities or allow the proposer to correct them. So it's not a you may, it is a you must. So if we're talking about a one-page tax certificate, that when the secretary was putting the very complicated proposal together, she left out that one page and probably got in trouble. But does that mean that somebody who might be a highly, highly qualified bidder on this RFP to help the town of Canton would then be not allowed to participate. So again, I just want to say, in determining the responsiveness of a proposal, you must waive minor informalities. So if this first item on the agenda is saying, are we in favor of following the law? Then I certainly would vote yes, but I don't know why we need to vote on that. I would assume we would waive minor informalities, and I know in both of those cases, they were almost quickly corrected. They were quickly corrected on these very minor details. So I don't think it's correct to describe this as changing anything in the RFP. This is, these are minor informalities, and we must allow the proposer to correct them or waive them, and that's what happened. They were corrected.
You're saying they were minor. When we're talking tax and certificates of non-collusion, those are not minor. And the certificate of liability insurance is not minor. But I have requested that we allow the two that I originally rejected back in the mix, and the vote would be just to confirm that.
Can I just point out what the OIG, how the law defines a minor informality? Minor informalities are, quote, minor deviations, insignificant mistakes, and matters of form rather than substance of the proposal. So it's not that these firms didn't have liability insurance, it's that the secretary didn't put it in the thing. That's a minor informality that was quickly corrected.
We did not know that at the time, and the fact that we did not have non-collusion and tax, as well as certificate of liability insurance, is a major factor. We didn't know that they did or they didn't have it, but until they provided it, we had no way of knowing. Now we are saying, let's accept them as they are. We can take the vote now, and then we can start working on shortlisting what we have. So do you move?
No, I just have one more question before I do that.
That's body
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's attitude, yeah.
So my question is, you sent out an email saying that, and naming the names of the firms, saying that they had this like terrible violation. And I think, because Dave and I have both read the law and we know the law and what a minor informality is, and I'm worried that it would have influenced the rankings if somebody saw an email saying, this firm is, they're excluded. You think, well, that must have sound terrible. And it's a minor informality. And lastly, I will say that, Dave has gone through all of the proposals and found minor mistakes in all of them. So, these are minor informalities.
I still disagree that they're not minor. In some cases, they were major. They're back in. That will not affect the way I rank them, or I think anybody else ranked them. But we'll see. Let's take a motion, get it on the table, and then start discussing.
Could I just to finish up? I just want to ask. And your answer very well may be no. It didn't influence my rankings at all. Do you feel that getting that email saying that this firm had been excluded, for something, Are you?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't know who was excluded.
Okay,
When I
excellent.
went down to town hall to pick up my packages, I had 5 packages there.
Okay.
I had no idea who was excluded.
Thank you for reassuring
Mr. Chair,
taxpayers.
I have no idea who it was.
Okay.
I just want to point out how the bid opening of the proposals was canceled. You opened them in secret with
And we didn't open in secret.
procurement officer. I wasn't invited. None of the petitioners were invited to the opening. You always said it would be a transparent process and we could all be there for the bid opening process. That never happened. And the way you conform this police audit bid opening summary, first of all, it's missing signed under penalties of perjury from all 3 of the members that signed it, the chief procurement officer, yourself, and I believe it's the assistant town accountant, if I'm correct on that. But getting into this, there's about 20 pieces of requirements, required criteria as set forth in the RFP in section number 9. You cherry-picked 5 of those. You didn't list out all 20 of them or more. You cherry-picked 5 to exclude probably the most highly advantageous bidders that have come through to the town. So that was unfortunate that you set the tone in an email to everyone saying that you alone disqualified the Del Carmen Group and 5 Stones. You had no authority to disqualify them in an email without deliberations of the committee. You're the chair, you don't have that decision to make, so I would move forward a motion to accept all 5 of the bids we've received, because I worked really hard on trying to get as many bidders as possible. You disrupted, you deflected, you didn't want any bids, you even told the news we'll be lucky to even get one. A lot of these bids came in through the work I did, and for you to try to exclude these would be, it would be unfortunate, and it would be an injustice for what was the prevailing motion at the town meeting. So, again, I'm going to move that we accept all of the bids, waive any minor informalities and technicalities, as we're able to do within the Chapter 30 law, and approve all of the bids that came in, and review them on the merits that the proposal state. So let's review them and give each of these firms a fair shot. In addition to that, if you look at the RFP, Section 2.4a, there's a discrimination clause in there. And if you turn to the back of the Del Carmen page without disclosing any of it, you'll see why that's very important. So I suggest all the members of the committee turn to the back of the last page of the Del Carmen proposal and look at the first paragraph in that, and see if that makes sense to remove that firm based on the anti-discrimination clause.
I second that motion.
Which is the motion? Accept?
That
To
we
accept all
all
5 of the
Okay.
proposals.
Any other discussion on that?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Now, moving on to number 2. Discuss and vote, if possible, the rankings of the proposals received. I'll leave it with Kathleen and David to lead the way.
Well, Mr. Chair, first I would like you to establish the guidelines. You haven't provided any guidelines outside of sending over Section 9 of the RFP for our evaluation criteria. There's no ranking spreadsheet that most procurement officers in town use to rank each of their RFPs. We don't know what scale you're using, if you're using the 0 to 3 scale, the 1 to 4 scale, meaning that unacceptable bids would be at a 0, highly advantageous would be at a 3. So please describe your methodology for the rankings that you are advising our committee to use as chair.
We have 5 bidders. I'm asking the committee to rank them first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. How you do it is a combination of what was in the RFP, your feelings on reading the bids presented, and go from there. So
Actually,
I
Mr.
leave it
Chair,
up to you two to begin.
it's not based on feelings, it's actually based on facts and how each one of the 7 pieces of criteria fit into each of the respondents' documents that they submitted to us. So, project management and project management experience would be the first one on the list, and then it goes down to project team experience, and then it gives substantial amounts of evaluating criteria on how to differentiate which bucket they fall into, whether it be unacceptable, non-advantageous, advantageous, or highly advantageous, based on, for instance, on the project manager, on the number 1, based on the number of years experience they have in this type of service. So,
If you don't mind,
Sure.
can I interject a very practical question? So what Dave and I ended up doing is using the RFP evaluation form that the OIG suggests. In case people don't know, there are 4 categories. One is unacceptable, the next up is not advantageous, the next up is advantageous, and the next up is highly advantageous. I believe both of our assumption is that the unacceptable is a 0, the not advantageous is a 1, advantageous is a 2, and highly advantageous is a 3. You go through, you rank according to very specific terms that are in the RFP that we had, and then add up all of those numbers. Is that what you guys did?
Essentially, yes.
Okay, and was that the correct, because another way to do it, because we didn't get this guidance, it could have just been 1 to 4, so unacceptable would be 1, etc. But, so we did it as unacceptable as a 0.
What would be the preference of the committee?
well, Mr. Chair, I did email Mr. Scollins, because I wasn't getting any input from you on how to perform the rankings. Ultimately, we have to come up with a composite score for each of the proposals that was submitted based on each of the 7 pieces of criteria and how they fit in. So just by a show of hands on the committee, I just want to see who has compiled the composite score yet on each of the vendors.
Overall composite score
Yes.
Yeah,
based on reviewing each of them
for each one.
and then getting
Excellent.
up with a fine.
Based on the comparative evaluation criteria set forth in the RFP.
Right, I believe that that's what I did, but Kathleen referenced the numerical rating system. I didn't use the numerical, I just,
Okay,
And I never have either.
So you-
I ranked the first one, second,
I
third,
see.
fourth, and fifth.
So that's why, Mr. Chair, we were looking for leadership from the chair in regards to the methodology for conducting this type of RFP, so it doesn't, I can conform with any type of methodology you want at this time. I just need to know what methodology we're using.
Rank them first, second, third, fourth, and fifth.
then how, if I may ask,
Based on what?
if I may ask, then how do we compile it as we are required to do into a sort of a, you know, a joint ranking?
I would say that the number ones, if we're gonna pick 3, would automatically get a 3-point, the number 2, and then 1.
Mis-
3, 2, 1.
Mr. Chair.
Add them up.
The RFP itself that was designed by Town Council and Randy Scollins specifically states conforming evaluation criteria, which is completely different than what you just said. So I believe you just made up a completely different evaluation criteria. So we have a very stringent
But why don't
comparative
you give-
evaluation criteria set forth in the RFP in section number 9 that we need to follow in accordance with Chapter 30B laws.
Why don't you give us the way you have it, and we'll take it from there.
All right, so if everyone happens to have their RFP handy, you could turn to the comparative evaluation criteria.
No, give us what you
There's-
have in the numbers you have, and then we'll interpret as we go down further. Who is your number 1 choice?
No, Mr. Chair, that's not how you rank these, so we have to take a look at the project manager experience. So pick a firm to use to start. I'll be happy to start with any of the ones that you choose. So we have Effective Law Enforcement for All, we have Matrix, we have CAER, we have Del Carmen Consulting, and we have Five Stones Intelligence. I'd be happy to start off with whatever one you choose.
Go ahead, take one.
You're the chair, you better.
No, I'm letting him pick
Let's
his.
pick 5 stones.
Could we work up there, please?
Is that what, okay, we can start with Five Stones. This is the one that, was on the agenda to be excluded. So in regards to comparative, without discussing any of the contents of this proposal, because we haven't gotten to the bids, we have to be very careful on how we discuss this. So the project manager experience, unacceptable would be the project manager has less than 3 years' experience in the services requested. Not advantageous, which we would rank that as a 0. Not advantageous is the project manager has less than 5 years' experience in the services requested, meaning police audits, not consulting. We're actually looking for a police audit. Some of these firms are offering consulting services. So, and then to go on to the highly advantageous, the project manager has greater than 5 years of experience. So in regards to Five Stones, to go down the list, they have a very well-qualified person in that company, and they may be one of the most qualified project managers in all of the bids we received, and I would rank him highly advantageous with the experience, being over 5 years, based on the criteria that's set forth in there, in the comparative evaluation criteria.
And then, do you want me to take the next one?
So, I think we all need to rank these and come up with a composite score amongst the committee.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll come out with who is the best one, not who I think is the best one, who everyone has based on their actual comparative evaluation based on the criteria they've read and reviewed in the past week in these documents and proposals that have been provided. So I gave you my 5 stones criteria. Number 1, project manager experience, highly advantageous.
What else are you finding in that same?
So I think we should probably go down the list for each one and then compile a composite score for each vendor. So let's get this on the record right now. I ranked it a highly advantageous. I don't know what the other committee members are ranking this at the moment.
I also rank them as highly advantageous.
And this is based on the experience as listed in the comparative evaluation criteria.
All right, I have them as advantageous.
So you think they have 5 years experience and not greater than 5 years experience?
I just think they're advantageous.
But it's a number, though. It's not like, we have somebody with 31 plus years of experience. How does that fit into like these aren't subjective. This is a mark. You meet the mark if you have over X amount of years experience and you're qualified for a certain category.
I'm still finding them advantageous.
Are you not gonna follow the system?
Based off of what logic?
My logic.
Well, your logic isn't.
I don't have to define to you what my logic is in picking them.
No, there's a system.
Mr. Chair, town council has defined the logic to the committee
And I've
in the
had my
document.
system I've been doing for
No,
30 years.
there's a
so
system in the RFP.
I'm not gonna adhere to exactly what you want.
Mr. Chair, if I...
Not what I want, it's what town council wants, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, the system is outlined in great detail in the 35-page RFP. That's why we followed it, because that's what it said to do. Does that not matter? Those are the rules. Do they not matter?
They're the rules, yes. But they're not the only rules that are used in selection.
Which paragraph in the RFP are you referencing for rules that we should be using for evaluation criteria to come up with
I'm
a
looking
composite
overall
score?
in each one and coming up who I think is the best number 1 pick, that's number 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Your chief procurement officer, Mr. Chair, has sent me out a email showing we need to follow these 7 pieces
I didn't
of
see that copy of
criteria.
that, and quite
I believe
frankly,
you
I
were
don't
copied
think
on
he
it.
did.
You can bring it up.
So if it's more than 5 years, it's highly advantageous. It's just, these are just facts. They're not, but to me, I don't care. I'm gonna rank it differently.
It's
like a job grade. It's like a job grade.
Keeps it objective, not subjective.
Objective, thank you.
Right, it's
That's why
objective,
we
not
need our
subjective.
library trustee here.
Ex-teacher.
I will just point out that we're very, very stern about any bidder not following every tiny little rule, but we also need to follow the rules in the RFP.
That is one of the rules of the RFP, not the total rules of the RFP. You take the overall bid and assess it, which is what we've done,
Through a composite score based off of the 7 pieces of criteria.
based on a number of factors that I've used for 30 years.
Well, we're not using what you've used in 30 years for building
Well,
projects and
you-
designer
you can-
projects,
you
which
can
is
do
different
'em-
statutes.
You can
We're
do them
using
your
chapter
way,
30B
and I'm
in
gonna
this
do
one.
them my way.
That's
We just wanna
that's
have
not
on
how
the
chapter
record-
30B works, Mr. Chair.
We just want to have on the record that you're not following the rules that all of the
I'm
apprentice,
following the rules that I've used for years.
but not the rules in the
But not
RFP.
necessarily what you want.
No, it's the RFP, it's
No,
right.
no, it's not the only rules to be used.
Oh, I didn't want to follow these rules because they were hard.
It is time consuming to follow that way, but I think it's the way that we keep it objective.
That's what companies do today.
Unfortunately,
They
yeah.
all follow the same ratings, whatever it is, they follow it.
So that they question it,
Right.
you have something concrete in your possession to show how these companies were rated. And if you're questioned by the person who, the procurement officer said will question you, you will look like you did the right thing. It may take longer, but I think this group of people want you to do it the right way. We know there's a time constraint, but if you
Town gets
didn't do your
audited, then we
Here's a
know
copy of
that
Mr.
we
Scollins'
have
email. I actually blew
backup.
up to make the font a little bit bigger. I have the original email if you want to review it, but the font's a lot smaller. But there are 7 comparative evaluation criteria listed in the RFP. This is what we're working on, Bob. This is the agenda item.
That's what you're working on.
Can I do a point of information?
Yes, please.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
As I said, I have 38 years' experience doing this,
And I think that maybe one of the issues that we have here is, I believe that you've been a member of like a building committee for all these years. When you're selecting a designer, the designer rules are not as set the way Chapter 30B is. Chapter 30B has very specific requirements. And as you said, it's based on highly advantageous, unacceptable, and unadvantageous, disadvantageous. However, when you're doing a designer for a building, you can base it on the whole overall proposal that's been submitted. And I think, Mr. Chairman, that perhaps that's where the confusion is coming in, is that, and I've done designer selection as well, not just 30Bs, I've done every type of procurement for the town that you can do. A designer for a building, you can choose who you want based on what they've given you and how you feel. And it does come down to I'm comfortable, and Chapter 7C does say that you can choose who you want to choose. However, with Chapter 30B, you have to, it is state law. The Inspector General will come down on you and say, you can't just say this is how I want to do it. So that's why I'm just doing a point of information, which is Chapter 30B is extremely explicit, and I'm coming to you as a resident of the state and as former and retired procurement official, saying you have to follow the requirements of Chapter 30B. And that's all I want to say under point of information. I'm not, I mean, I really wish that your procurement officer was here, but you say that an email was sent, and, I mean, that your procurement officer is your procurement officer. Again, thank you for letting me make a point of information.
I gave you advantageous. That's what mine is on this.
But it's based on a certain amount of years.
Mine is advantageous, Kathleen.
How many years did you have for that individual as the project manager?
I gave him an advantageous. I'm not gonna justify to you why.
It's justifying, sir.
No.
Mr. Chair, it's
I have
justifying.
given you advantageous. Move on.
We need to follow the law.
Mr. Chair, it's
and I am.
outlined by town council, who was the attorney who wrote this RFP, and put in the specific instructions into here. So you just heard from someone who's been a chief procurement officer
right.
in town, and,
And I gave you an advantageous.
well, I'm just asking for your criteria, how many years did that person have? You know, I spent a good amount of time, I put together a 20-page ranking report with all these. I'd be happy to provide it to anyone upon public record request.
And there's no shame in saying, you know what, we're gonna take more time and do it the right way. There's no shame in adjourning a meeting and starting over again. I think you may have 3 people who are not prepared with those kind of rankings. So why not? Why not give yourself a little more time and do it the right way? And meet again when you've done it following the law.
With that said, we're on a tight timeline. Mr. Chair says our next meeting has to be November 4th, which is supposed to be our kickoff meeting, so.
Here or the 13th.
You may not be able to do that.
Yeah, but see, that was the problem, is that people didn't, vendors did not put bids in because it was a slam dunk on when it needed to be issued and when it needed to be completed by. And people didn't put it in because of the Christmas holiday.
But now they have 5.
But
And
now
it
it's,
seems like
but
they
now
should
it's
have
not
been-
fair to those that didn't put it in.
Right, I agree.
Okay, well.
So, Mr. Chair, you know, I'd hate to, you know, start this and adjourn this, but we're here today, you know, it's tough getting started. I think we should stick to the task, try to complete the task of the committee. But I'm just asking how you came up with that I'm just asking for the number of years you thought that project manager had for
No, I'm
experience.
not answering that question.
But you're the boss.
Either you take my advantageous, or we can adjourn until the 13th. I don't care.
All right, so we'll move on to, so we have 2 highly advantageous. and then,
How about the other 2? How about the other 2?
Okay, so now we have
Well, that's-
Mr. Kelly, Dr. Muse.
Will you ask them what they think?
We're talking about the project manager?
Yeah.
on
Yes.
5
How many
towns?
years
Yes, sir.
experience does he have?
Yeah,
In fact, he has
I gave
31.
that an HA, yeah, as the project manager.
So highly advantageous would be a 3 based off of the ranking methodology, 0 being unacceptable.
You know, and to get back to what Ms. Cameron had to say,
Chamberlain, I'll take that as a compliment. And Karen was doing it for like 32 years.
well, I apologize, 5
Chamberlain.
of my kids said.
I
Ms. Cameron said-
Yeah, I like it though. I'll take it as a compliment.
Well, I apologize if I got the name wrong.
It's
but,
okay, Chamberlain. It's close.
In any event, you know, I think we all use somewhat of the same ranking criteria, and we're working off this worksheet. I hear what you're saying about the numerical rating. I personally did not use a numerical rating. I just used the highly acceptable, acceptable, unacceptable, et cetera. As to whether we need to adjourn, come back at another date, while we're all singing from the same page of music, I don't really care. But I think that we need to have some consistency.
Well, in regards to what you just mentioned, correlate, the unacceptable, advantageous, highly advantageous, to numbers. 0 is unacceptable.
That's correct, yeah.
1 is not advantageous, 2 is advantageous, and 3 is highly advantageous. So if you've already assigned, a ranking to each one of those, then it should be very easy just to plug in a number rather than having to adjourn.
Yeah. But, I'll also say, in reading some of the CV for some of the team participants, it was very unclear. I mean, it's like reading a resume. Somebody gives you what they want you to see. And having read 1,000 resumes over my professional career, I understand that it's very, very difficult to interpret what you see in a CV. But it's also very difficult to correlate what you see in the CV as it correlates to the requirements that we're expected to adhere to. Right now we're on 5 stones, and again, I was very impressed with 5 stones. I thought not only did the project manager, but all of the team members, I thought they offered exceptional resumes and experience in law enforcement. But I was unclear as to how would I rate the team members, because of the fact that all of the wealth of experience that they had was all in law enforcement investigations. And nobody respects that more than I. But I had a question as to how that related to doing audits.
They've been doing audits, if they're good, if they're good enough for the Capitol Police, they're good enough for us.
They did were internal, DOJ audits, and I'm very familiar with those.
IRS.
Yeah, but they're all internal. It didn't appear that they had any exterior experience in doing audits, and I had a great deal of respect for what I was reading, but being the fact that it was on a CV, and I know when you read a CV, there's a lot left to be interpreted.
They have external, they audited the US Capitol Police, that's pretty impressive.
Well, they're in the process of doing that, but it didn't, I think it referenced to the project manager that was engaged in that, but
Yeah.
I was very unclear as to, and again, I'm talking about 5 stones now, because that's the RFP that we're referring to. But it was awfully difficult to interpret as to how much experience, external experience, that the team members had. I looked at their resumes, I was very impressed, but I was not sure as to how it related to our RFP.
Mm-hmm. So that's a very good point you make, Mr. Kelly. So one thing I would like to point out is if you go to number 2 of that comparative ranking criteria, it kind of it'll lay out for you based on what you've read in there and how to correlate that over.
But I just didn't want to extrapolate what we're rating the project manager, and that did not necessarily translate to team members. I mean, and again, very impressive resumes, but what the project manager has done, you can't extrapolate that to say that all of the team members had the same kinds of experience.
I thought they were the most experienced of any of the 5, and talking about not just project manager, but also the team members, the most experienced by far of any of the, compared to the other 4. Like it was light years.
Quite frankly, I was impressed with most of them. I really was. I don't think that we had anybody who just threw a dart hoping that they would get, hope that they were getting the bid. I mean, some I think were better than others, but there was nothing that I wasn't impressed with.
Yeah, same here.
And then I guess we would move on to Dr. Muse and ask what
On your scale of 3.
A 3, so we have 4 3s and a 2, right? 1. So that would be a 14 composite score on that project manager, right?
I think your math is correct.
Okay, I'm just making sure everyone's on the same page. So next, we move on to the project team experience. As we were discussing earlier, I ranked that as highly advantageous. I gave that a 3.
I also ranked it as highly advantageous. I wish there was a higher category, but so a 3 from me as well.
Advantageous.
Including several who are certified fraud examiners, by the way. Go ahead.
You know, I gave them advantageous as well, being the fact that I was very impressed with what I was reading, but I just did not understand how that might translate. I mean, many of them did internal work for the government, but in terms of responses to the RFP that we have out there, I couldn't go any.
Well, the way you translate, Mr. Kelly, it's a highly advantageous project team performed greater than 3 projects of a similar to the scope. So 3 police audits would have.
Which they've done.
You know, I've been involved in many internal audits and inspections and things of that nature, but I would not equate that to going outside and doing an external. I'm not saying that they're not good, they're not competent, but again, my rating was advantageous on that, for that reason.
They included specific documentations. I don't know that we could, get into all of them right at this time, but if you go through the proposal, I believe there is at least 3 of them in there.
They were citing for the purposes, because they went through to all the categories and said, this is why we would rank as highly advantageous, because we have done these 3 and more, but they were citing the 3 to make it easy for us.
But again, I was left with the impression, again, my impression was that they were all very competent, but I just looked at it as internal inspections, looking at their own entities as opposed to going out and look at other entities. So again, I gave that.
Well, that might have been on the resumes. They do list on.
I read them all, but in any event, I think they're very competent, but I just gave it an advantageous.
Okay.
I just want to get to that section. They do lists like the Indian River Police Department, U.S. Capitol Police.
Hold on. Reading them out. You
Okay.
can just say the number of them.
On page 11.
They also don't mention whether they were audits or whether they might have just gone in and done educational segments, teaching, use of force and things of that nature, which again are not audits. I wish they had told us. I wish they had told us what they were, but they did not.
Would you go to an interview stage after this, like rank them and then pull in maybe people to
After we
interview?
rank them all, come with
To answer the
composites, we should be able to compile,
Yeah.
open the bids. But yeah, then we could show.
People could ask questions, Jackie could ask questions to clarify.
But those are legitimate things he's bringing up and they're valid.
But if I could just point out, without citing it, all team members have over 10 years of experience doing the type of work detailed in the RFP.
I think they explained.
But again, I believe that they probably do, but was it internal reviewing their own units, which I know I did all the time, and I think that they probably have done numerous times as well, but again, many of them, I don't know how long they've been retired, because as an active member of DEA, FBI, DOJ, you can't take external jobs, and you just can't, so, I mean, it just, like every CV, it leaves you with a lot of questions that you wish you had somebody seated in front of you so you could ask the question.
Well, just to show you, you could go to page number 9 of the proposal. It shows all the references of, some of the major audits that they're doing, and I don't even think that includes all of them. There is some other additional experience listed in page 10, or I'm sorry, page 11.
Also, page 12, they said that this experience had a particular focus on audits and operational reviews of law enforcement agencies in the U.S. and abroad. Of course, they're a multinational firm with headquarters in
I
London.
think it's tricky right here that you can't try to talk somebody up or down.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, so you're on, you
I
choose your
am,
final
I
answer,
just
and
think we
then
could get bogged down over it.
Right.
and then
Questioning.
I think it comes out in the interview process.
Dr.
We could be here.
Hughes is a 3. So we have a 13 composite score, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2.
Did we get Bob's? Did you get Bob's?
Bob did provide 2 earlier. So moving on to number 3, we can debate these, or we could just go right in and try to compile the composite scores to try to speed things along. Experience in providing similar studies to municipalities. I'll start with you, Bob.
Advantageous. 2.
Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, I have to go with that as well, because it's the same thing as the team members. I don't have enough specifics as to what they're doing externally.
Dr. Muse?
2.
Ms. Haley?
3, and I want to say it's backed up by the proposal. Details in the proposal.
And myself, I gave that a 2, which we would end up with an 11. Composite score. Qualifications of personnel is assigned to the project. Maybe start, just mix up the order this time, Dr. Muse.
3. They're very qualified as a group.
Ms. Haley?
Yeah, I'm giving that an HA. That's number 4. I'm sorry.
You know, I think on this one, I made a mix 4 and 5 up by accident, but this is
We're on 4. Yeah.
qualifications of personnel to be assigned to the project.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
did we got those 2 votes?
Yeah, I gave that an HA.
Yeah. And Dr. News said HA, or 3, and I did as well.
And how about you, Bob?
2.
All right, so we have a 14 ranking on number 4. Responsive technical scope of services. Mr. Chair?
2.
Mr. Kelly?
Can you give me a minute? I'm just trying to
Sure.
recreate my worksheet, which
Go ahead.
unfortunately I don't have with me.
Ms. Haley?
3.
I give that an HA.
3.
3 3s and and 1 2? Does that sound accurate? So another 14.
Okay. Did you count yourself then? That doesn't add up to
3
5.
3,
does
that
it?
doesn't add up to 5, yeah.
3.
You said 3 3s and 1
I think
2.
it's 4 3s.
4 3s and 1 2. You know, mine's in, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, mine's
No
typed
worries,
out.
as long
And
as
I'm
you get those 3 in there.
going off of the ones I wrote out, so. Time frame to submission. And the time frame to submission is based on their ability to meet the deadline. If they come in 2 weeks earlier, that's gonna make that firm highly advantageous. If they come in on time, I believe that's just advantageous. And if they're over the timeline, that's unacceptable. So, you know, I gave them a highly advantageous on this one.
I did as well. They've committed to delivering the final report at least 14 days prior to the deadline.
Same.
Mr. Kelly's a 3. Mr. Chair?
2.
Were they late?
No, they're gonna be 2 weeks early, and he's still giving them.
If they're on time, you can't say 2.
Yeah, I think
Has
it
to be
might
3.
be. I think it might be.
Because I've already reported it.
Let's see.
If they're on time, you can't say 2.
Yeah.
You have to say 3.
We've got
Because
12 to
that-
14 weeks. Phase 1, 4 to 6. Phase 2, 4 to 6. Phase 3, 4 to 5. If they make it.
There's the date.
So, Mr. Chair, our anticipated kickoff date would be November 4th, if all goes well. That's listed in the RFP as described at town
We have to
council.
interview them, so.
Not necessarily,
We'll do
we
the best we can.
can determine that as a committee, but we have an interview deadline date as set forward in the RFP as well, that we would have to adhere to. We don't want to delay, they already have too much of a short time frame, and if we were to delay any further, everyone's gonna come in past the town meeting deadline that's been set. And I don't think we want to relitigate that, we just want to stay on target for our timeline.
What's next?
So I think or Dr. Muse, did you provide an answer?
I mean, this is them saying that they can do this, so
Right.
it's, but you
If
gotta give
we
them
st-
3, but who knows if they can actually match up to it. However, based on the numbers that they're giving, I think highly acceptable.
So make sure you got 5 votes for everything. Why is that just 4?
Well, because mine's
Oh, 'cause yours
typed
typed.
out,
Got
so
it,
I know
got
that's
it.
been throwing me off a little bit too. And then the overall impression of the proposals would be the last piece of criteria on this one. So I gave that a 3.
I gave it a 3 as well, especially compared to the other proposals, but also using the detailed, from the RFP, that if they do this, then you get a 3, and if you get through that, they got a 3.
2.
HA as well.
2.
So 13, so, Mr. Chair, would it be okay to compile a committee composite score based on each independent evaluation, based on the criteria we just
You're gonna add
established? If you'd like me to, Mr. Chair.
Be my guest.
And someone else double checks.
Yeah. Do you want to?
'93 is what I came up to for a composite score.
I'm going to double check it while you move over to the last one.
Mr. Chair, what would be the next proposal you'd like to review?
Pick one.
Let's go with CAER. So 5 stones is done. This one's still need to be done. So for CAER, I noted their project management experience as unacceptable, 0, as they did not actually provide any similar types of services provided. Mr. Chair, what did you have?
Unacceptable.
0.
I also had unacceptable. The company was founded a year ago, and the owner seems to still be a current police officer, or...
Well, you've got 3 people. Norris is an active lieutenant in Lebanon.
Right.
Scott Rathbone is a current lieutenant in Hanover. Richard Mello is in Dartmouth running a health organization. And Tim Cohen is a former captain. They're all still actively working somewhere else. They've got 2 years' experience
Correct.
and none with an audit. They're unacceptable in everything.
Okay, let's go, let's.
Correct, so...
We agree. We agree.
Mr. Kelly, Dr. Muse?
Bob, we agree.
Let's knock 'em off.
What was your ranking on that?
That's the way we get it done, Bob.
I also want to make it clear that if they are watching, I read all of these proposals in the CVs. I was very impressed with who they were, but unfortunately, as to the 4 corners of the RFP, they just didn't meet it. I encouraged them to keep plugging away, but unfortunately, they just didn't meet the 4 corners of the RFP.
And what was your rank on that?
Unacceptable.
0.
With that caveat.
Dr. Muse?
Unacceptable.
Project manager team, I also found it the same,
Yeah.
to be unacceptable.
Same, unacceptable.
Mr. Chair?
I gave you unacceptable.
Thank
Right
you.
down the
He
line.
said all the way down.
Okay.
Oh, 0's all the way down.
All the way down,
Okay.
unacceptable and everything.
I think these 2 are unacceptable all the way down too, so.
I thought we're tossing them.
Right, toss
Yeah,
them.
we're
Let's not beat a dead horse.
They don't have project management, they're out.
You know, just to be blunt, I ended up with a 2 composite score for them, where the other one I think I had a 19 for, so I think that probably is a toss. If the committee agrees, for the sake of time, we could move past this one.
Progress.
Amazing. What's next?
And just by a show of votes, committee votes the motion to toss CAER.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. So who's next?
We can move on to effective law enforcement for all, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
Fine with me.
In regards to project manager experience, you know, again, the individual seemed well qualified, but I did not see that individual listed as project manager listing any municipal audits on the resume, so I would list that as unacceptable.
I had the same rating.
I gave it an HA. You know, I was impressed with they're working on the federal mandates. And I think they did list some other police departments that they had worked with. In fact, I think they listed quite a few.
I believe that was in regards to the staff and not the project manager. They had, I think there was maybe 2 or 3 different police departments that I can recall off the top of my head. You know, one of them was an audit, one of them was a review, one of them was an independent evaluation. So there's really one audit that they conducted out of the 3 firms that
Well, in any event,
were listed.
I want to stick with that.
Okay. Mr. Chair?
HA, 3.
3.
It is interesting that that firm is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit company,
Which one is that?
effective law.
A nonprofit.
A lot of companies become no profit, but not intentionally.
So 2 zeros and a 3 adds up to 9 for project manager experience with the committee composite score on paragraph number 1, project team experience. I listed as unacceptable as they had 1 year or less with experience with audits.
Mine was the same.
In regards to the project team, not the company itself.
Right.
You know, the company itself has had, I believe that 1 audit I mentioned earlier. I'm sorry, what did you have?
The same.
Is it unacceptable?
Yeah.
HA,
Mr. Chair? Mr. Kelly?
I just gave it an acceptable.
A 2.
Same.
Dr. Muse was a 2.
Mm-hmm.
A 7 would be the composite score on project team experience in providing similar studies to municipalities.
I had a not advantageous 1.
The 1, I gave that a 2.
2.
I gave that an acceptable.
2.
4 2s and a 1. That would be a composite score of 9. Qualifications of personnel to be assigned to the project. I noted the personnel had limited experience doing this type of work. The actual project team, not the company itself, and I gave that a 0 as unacceptable.
Yeah, I'm the same.
3.
I gave it an A, acceptable.
3.
2 and a 3. So 2 or 3, 2, 3 would be over to my left, and 0, 0 over here. So we have an 8 composite score. Time frame to submission.
Isn't number 5 next? 5?
So if we had a,
5.
oh,
5,
sorry, did I
response. Yeah.
skip? I apologize.
That's right.
Response to technical scope. I ended up giving that a 2.
I gave it an advantageous, what's that? That's a 2
A
as
2.
well, yeah.
2 advantageous. Mr. Chair?
3.
I gave that an HA as well.
3.
3 3s and 2 2s. 9 and 4 is 13. Move on to time frame from submission. If we stay in the 11-4 kickoff call as proposed in the RFP, I believe they have a 22-week date, which would put them in after the 4/1 due date of 4/7.
I think the initial report, I think, fell within the 20-week period. That was my reading of it. And it was mine as well. I think the initial report fell at 20 weeks.
22-week schedule.
22-week schedule based out from November 4th. I did the math on that, brings you to April 7th. And that's beyond the April 1st deadline as listed in the RFP.
And they won't make it now anyway, because we're gonna be a little late. So they're probably right on schedule. I gave them a 3.
Well, if we're late, that only delays the timeline
Right.
even further.
So someone
So-
who comes in 2 weeks early is a 2, but someone who comes in late is a 3?
No, yeah.
It's all outlined in, on, section number 9.
So the 3 makes no sense.
It makes no sense, score makes no sense. So I,
Well, it would be past the deadline, would be not advantageous
No, what I'm saying
or
is-
unacceptable.
what I'm saying is that with Five
But-
Stones, they were coming in 2 weeks early and Bob gave them a 2, and now this one's coming in late and Bob's giving them a 3, so I don't understand that
And that's
rationale.
cut and dry, that's not subjective, that's objective.
The rules are right in the documents provided to us by town council and the chief procurement officer. So, everyone's entitled to their own vote.
Thank you.
I rated it a 0.
Time frame is a 0. Mr. Chair,
Agree.
highly advantageous to come in 2 weeks late.
Yep.
Mr. Muse,
If you're gonna be late, they're late, 0.
Can I ask what company this is, please?
effective law enforcement for all. I think I'm missing one, so that's a 3. Or unacceptable is a 0.
Yeah.
So we have a composite score, Mr. Chair being the only one that thought it was highly advantageous, as a 3. Everyone else was a 0. Overall impression of the proposal, this would be your overall composite score of the firm, Ms. Howley.
I gave it a 1.
1, Mr. Chair.
Advantageous 2.
Mr. Kelly.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm a step behind you. Which?
This would be number 7 of the overall impression of the proposal.
I give it a 2.
2.
2, 4, 6, 8 total. 7.
Change my 3 to a 2, I was looking at the wrong one.
Which one are we referring to?
So,
The time frame of 2, so 6, the time frame submission, you want to change your 3 to a
It should be
2?
I was looking at the wrong one. I can't change my mind occasionally if I don't.
10, 23. I'll just add these up with the calculator. Composite score of 56 total for the committee. Would anyone like to double check?
Yes. Just 2 more to go.
All right, so effective law enforcement is done. This one is out. Del Carmen, you can move on to,
Sounds good.
if that's the will of the committee.
Doing all 5.
Mr. Chair, project manager experience for you.
You can put unacceptable on all categories.
Okay. Put you down to a 0 for all of them. Mr. Kelly?
I'm gonna do an acceptable, and again, I was impressed with the resume, but I just don't feel it fell within the parameters of the 4 corners of our RFP.
So a 1.
A 1.
Dr. Muse?
Honestly, wasn't sure what they were proposing, all total in terms of the outline, but someplace I could dig out a 1.
This specific one was the project manager
I don't-
experience, so that you have a 1?
Yeah.
Ms. Howley?
Jack, did you say unacceptable?
No, I said
Oh,
a 1.
okay, I misheard it then, okay. I just thought,
No, and again, not
Yeah.
not to drone on
I
here,
wasn't
but again,
questioning.
very impressive resume, but
yeah,
I think he does a lot of training for police departments. In fact, from what I read, he trained every police chief within the state of Texas, which is quite a few police chiefs. But, in terms of audits, I just didn't see it.
yeah. I had a not advantageous, so 1.
And I had a 2. So a 5 score. Project team experience, Dr. Muse?
1.
Mr. Kelly?
A 1.
Bob, Mr. Chair, was a 0.
I also went a 0 for that. That way.
0, that was a 2, so that's a 4. Experience providing similar studies to municipalities. Ms. Hallie?
I have advantageous, he provided 3.
2.
3 clients with phone numbers as specified in the RFP.
Bob, Mr. Chair, is a 0. Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, I gave it a 1. Kathleen, I agree, he provided the 3 names, but again, unclear as to what he did for those departments, whether it be training, auditing,
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go higher than a 1.
Dr. Muse?
2.
7 composite score. Qualifications of personnel to be assigned to the project. I gave them a 3. Ms. Hallie?
I gave it a 0 because, I mean, the main guy is a full-time dean at a state college in Texas, and then the main guy who I think would be doing it, and it's just the 2 of them, he just got his PhD, and before that he retired, so I just don't know how much. So just to explain that, that's why I gave it an acceptable.
Okay, so a 0.
Yep.
Mr. Kelly?
I gave it a 1, a lot of experience, but just not the experience we're looking for.
And
0.
Dr. Muse, 0, so composite score 4. Responsive technical scope.
I gave it an advantageous, I mean, they put together a good bid.
2. Mr. Chair was 0. Mr. Kelly?
1.
1.
1.
And a 1. I thought they did an excellent job detailing all 20 paragraphs of our scope and putting that into the scope. I ended up giving them a 3, so 5, 6, 7 composite score. Time frame to submission. To me, they said they would come in without any exceptions, but didn't provide any time frame, so I gave them a 2. Ms. Hallie?
I give him a 2 as well. Yeah.
Mr. Chair was a 0. Mr. Kelly?
I gave it a 2.
1.
1.
You know, there wasn't a specific time frame, so I'm not quite sure.
So we have a 7 composite ranking. Overall impression of the proposal.
I gave it a 0. I don't know how 2 guys can, I mean, they don't have the staffing, and it's a challenging project. You know, in time.
Mr. Kelly?
I'm going to be consistent, I'll stay with 1.
Mr. Muse?
1.
Dr. Muse? 1. I did a 3, so we'll do, that adds up to 5. So 5. We come up with a composite score of 39. We'll let Ms. Hallie check that. Next would be Matrix on the list, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
This would be the last one.
Yep. 3.
Okay, 1 moment. 19. Mr. Chair was a 3. Ms. Hallie?
I'm sorry, I'm a little behind.
I'll skip you for now. Mr. Kelly?
I gave it a 3 as well.
Dr. Muse?
3.
I was a 0. They lacked any audit experience, the project manager. And
I give it a 1.
a 1, so we have a 10 composite score. Did you check out this one?
Yeah, that
239 checks out for
So
you?
you can put it, I should have put it over there.
And this one was
I think it's
Common.
over
I'm putting them on top of each one, so at the end we can easily determine who the high one is. Project team experience. Mr. Chair?
3.
Mr. Kelly?
I gave that a 3 as well.
Dr. Muse?
3.
Ms. Hallie?
1.
I give it a 0, so we're at a 10. Experience providing similar studies to municipalities. I provided a 1. Mr. Chair?
3.
Mr. Kelly?
I gave it a 2.
Dr. Muse?
2.
Ms. Hallie?
1.
In my opinion on this one, it appears that they are a strategic review company. I think at the last meeting you stated Canton does not have a strategic policy in place, plan in place for their, this could be like a good phase 2 thing, consultant to potentially review, in my opinion. But in regards to the ranking on this, I gave it a 1. So we come up with a composite score of 9 on that one. Qualifications of personnel to be assigned to the project. Mr. Chair?
3.
Mr. Kelly?
I give that a 3 as well.
Dr. Muse?
3.
Ms. Hallie?
I gave it a 1 because it's a mixed bag. Like one is only been 6 years experience, and then on the other end there's more, but it's just in the mixed bag to me.
And I gave that a 0. There were 7 staff members that have qualified law enforcement experience, but they're lacking audit experience. So composite score of 10. Number 5, response to technical scope of services.
I gave it a 0.
I gave it a 0 as well. Mr. Chair?
3.
Dr. Muse?
3.
Mr. Kelly?
2.
That's a score of 8.
Other question?
Mr. Chairman, could I ask the name of this company that we just voted on?
Matrix.
Thank you.
That would be Matrix Consulting Group, based in California somewhere.
San Mateo.
Time frame to submission. I give it a 2. Ms. Hallie?
I give it a 2 as well.
Mr. Chair?
3.
David, could you just, I can't find, I've been looking at so many time frames. What was their basis, how many weeks?
20-week time frame.
It's either, do they make it inside the,
They anticipate their report, as long as we stick to our kickoff meeting on 11/4, they anticipated 1 week before.
Okay, 3.
Not 2 weeks, 2 weeks before would be a 3, as according to the ranking documentation. 1 week before would be a 2, that's how I understood it, but we'll give Dr. Muse a 3. And Ms. Hallie, today,
A 1.
time frame to submission, 2, 4, we have 11 for composite score, and then overall impression of the proposal, I gave that a 0, Mr. Chair.
3.
Mr. Kelly?
2.
2.
Extreme.
I have reasoning for that.
I'm just curious because some are so disparate from 0s to 3s, and yet there's a specific criteria. I can see like a 1-point difference. 3 points is so extreme.
It is extreme.
I found this company to be more of a consulting firm than an audit firm. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair was a 3, Mr. Kelly?
2.
2,
2.
Ms. Hallie?
I gave it a 0 ranking because of what you just mentioned, but also there's some sloppiness. Like on one page it says the firm was founded in 2003, and on another page it says 2002. So that kind of made me a little leery.
That gives it a composite ranking, committee composite score on that item, number 7, as a 7.
Question, please. Can I ask if any of the board has any experience with these companies before this?
Don't know, I never heard of any of these companies.
Thank you.
Same.
Thank you.
I have no experience. I sent out submissions to several lists of bidders. I believe this is one of the lists I sent out. But I ranked them based on their criteria, and obviously I didn't rank them.
Just to follow up, all of
As
the
highly
companies
as-
tonight?
Yeah, and I love your question.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have no knowledge of any of these companies or never met
I don't know,
anybody,
same.
never been paid by
Thank you for
them.
answering my
One
question.
of these companies that was referenced, I noticed one of the team members worked in the same department I worked with. I never heard of him. I made calls, nobody ever heard of him. I think he was a very, very short-time member of the department. Never heard of him, never met him, don't know anything about any of these companies.
So thank you for your
Yeah,
thorough answer.
openness.
Thank you for your question. It's a good one.
So I believe that concludes the composite score compiling of all 5 of our proposers. 1 we tossed, we're left with 4. The highest rank one being 5 Stones at a 93. It appears that we have a tie for second with Effective Law Enforcement for All and Matrix Consulting Group. And the last one,
I'm getting something different. I'm getting,
You know,
I'm one off, so I'm getting
I
55.
did that one in my head, so I may be.
I did it twice. I
Oh,
did it
you might be
twice.
right.
Yes.
I was doing it quick, I'm sorry.
So you have 56 for both Matrix and
I'm sorry, so Matrix comes in at a
55.
55.
55?
And
So
effective law enforcement comes in at 56.
Effective Law Enforcement would be second at a 56. So to start from the top level, we ranked, the committee ranked 5 Stones the highest at a 93 composite score.
Okay.
Effective Law Enforcement for All came in at second with a 56 composite score. Matrix Consulting Group came in at third with a 55 composite score. The Del Carmen Consulting LLC company came in with a 39 composite score, and the committee decided and voted to toss out CAER as unacceptable proposal.
Okay.
Can I
So-
just ask a question, because I added up Matrix and I got 60. So I had 10, 10, 9, 10, 8, 11, 7.
10, 10, 9, 8, 11, 7.
So have somebody else check it, I'm sorry.
10, 10, 9, 10, 8,
10,
11.
10, 9, 10, 8, 11, 7 is 65.
9? No, 10, 10, 9, 8, 11, and 7.
10, 20, 40.
So you have one too many
50.
10s in there?
It's 55, yeah. It's 55.
It's 55.
Seven
It is 55.
So there's 7 pieces of criteria. Project manager was a 10. Project team was a 10. Experience providing similar audits was a 9. Qualifications to personnel was a 10. I may have missed that 10, the way it's off in the margin.
Oh,
Yeah, so I did miss a 10, I apologize.
thank you.
Thank you for correcting.
I want to write down the right hand.
What do we,
It was off in the margin, so I didn't put the 10 over there. Thank you.
Read the scores again?
Yeah, so I will reread the scores. So Matrix comes in at a 65.
okay, and then
So number
effective law
1,
enforcement is correct at 56.
correct.
Okay, and Del Carmen's 39, and CARE is out.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So again, number 1 is 5 Stones. 2 is going to be Matrix. 3 is going to be Effective Law Enforcement, and 4 is going to be Del Carmen. Thank you. Okay, so now we are on to the next agenda item, right, Mr. Chair?
Yeah. We'll be looking at open the price proposals. We ready to move into that?
Yeah.
Motion to open the price proposals.
Seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So are we doing them in the order of the,
Yeah, I've got 5 Stone here.
okay.
I'm sure I can read. $198,000.
Wow. That's a good
Number 2 would be Matrix.
Matrix. $199,000. What a surprise.
99.99.
They thought it's not the price is right.
99.99. Somebody's not coming out. 100.
Well, so far, that's a good sign for not needing supplemental funding on the top two proposers.
All right, the next third was effective, right?
That's correct.
$200. 5 monthly installments of 50 grand.
That's 250.
Are they allowed to do that?
That's 250.
That's
Yeah.
250.
5 monthly summons.
That's a nice try.
Okay, well, listen, they can't even count them. They definitely, throw them out. They're not even in run around.
Did they say 250?
5 monthly installments of 50.
My math is better than
Jack, get rid of the money, they gotta go.
Somebody doesn't proofread. Oh, wait a minute.
And they want 50 grand for 5 months.
Did they come in at 250?
Community engagement services is 50 grand. If,
That's an optional service
That's
should the
an
town
option.
Okay.
decide to do that. So they did come in at 250,
So
but
that was legitimate.
we would have to, approve and get supplemental funding for that if that proposal does prevail. And we want the community engagement. That was probably one of the best parts of any of these proposals that they offered was that community engagement.
Right, but they charged that too.
They did.
Well, they really engaged the community.
Bill Carmen.
What?
171,040.
Oh, 171,040. No, that would be a turn back to the general fund if that one were to go
The
through.
one is not necessary since
Do we care?
it was thrown out, I don't care.
I'd just be curious what their price is.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I mean, if we're gonna go this far, let's find out and be nosy and find out what they have.
Between the first and the second.
It's gonna cost us $5.
93 and 65.
Okay.
How much?
Go tell us.
3,000.
Oh, tell us. Oh, tell us. They went over 200.
Oh, well over. $1,500,000.
Who is that? Who is that?
The one
Yeah,
you
see that
talked
picture?
Oh my God.
They don't want the job. They-
Oh my
Yeah.
God. There's a reason we tossed them.
They don't want the job.
That is the one I tossed immediately.
Oh, good.
Without even knowing the price.
Same.
They don't want the job if they priced it like that.
Yeah,
One hell of a.
they want a new vacation home is all they want.
Yeah.
Now,
Mr. Chairman,
Gonna get it.
may I make a point? Given that the number one ranked is so much higher ranked than the number two, and also the lowest bid, the Five Stones is ranked at 93, and the next one down, Matrix, a California firm, is ranked at 65. I don't, what are you suggesting as far as interviews?
we normally bring in the top 3.
Yep.
You can bring in the top 2, or you can skip it and just hire them.
We have the ability to waive interviews. I would motion to waive interviews.
Second the motion, and then I would like to make a point that the OIG, as a matter of fact, has had bulletins saying, the interviews are not required. But in this case, it just seems so clear that the most highly qualified one came in with the lowest price.
What
and
does
that-
the whole board think?
Well, I was just finished, could I just finish what I was saying? And that the next one down, so Five Stones is 93, and then the next one down, Matrix, is 65. That's a pretty big difference. But I wanted my last point. Okay, I just remembered my last point. We have such a compressed time schedule, and half of it is over the holidays. I would just throw that out there as a point to make a point to say that it would be beneficial for the completion of for a successful audit if we could move with as much haste as possible. to get this in place.
You know,
Thank you.
I will just say this, I mean, it's not my personal money, but I feel as a taxpayer of the town of Canton, I think it's my responsibility to have some eye contact with these people. We're spending a lot of money. I mean, as opposed to the $1,500,000, it's not a lot of money, but it's still $200,000 that belong to the citizens of the town of Canton. And I think we all have a responsibility to make sure that we all have 100% comfort level as to how we're spending the town's money. And I don't know when it can be set up, but I would like
I do agree.
if we could arrange it real expeditiously.
Yeah,
I would-
expeditiously, of course.
I,
It's prudent.
Well, in regards, Mr. Chair, in regards to Mr. Kelly's comment, we do have on our anticipated milestone schedule as set forth in the RFP, a interview week of October 14th, which would be next week. We would have to conduct the interviews to stay on target on the schedule to prevent any delays from this going beyond the time frame, because their time frame is right up to our time frame.
Do they know when that interview schedule is?
They all have this like
They have
proposed
that.
timeline, yeah.
Okay.
Question. Can I ask a question?
Mr. Chair?
You do the interview over Zoom?
No,
No, it has to be in person.
I won't do a Zoom interview.
Okay.
Why is?
Mr. Chair, and the select board's doing their meetings in Zoom, the finance committee is doing their meetings in Zoom.
But these,
Many other town committees are doing it in Zoom. So, you know, we could easily bring in the IT director to facilitate the Zoom. You know, it should be something that's accessible
Yes.
for everyone provided. So you're expecting vendors to come from faraway places, you know, that's just only gonna lead to addition, they're gonna find a way to charge more money and add that in there in the end. You know, I don't.
If they wanna get the contract, they'll show up.
But
If they don't wanna show.
Everybody's doing Zoom since COVID, everybody's doing Zoom. It's
Mr.
the-
Chair, our select board operates in Zoom, I think our committee could do the same thing.
Because you have a tight
We'd set the
time.
precedent for the town. We have a motion and a second on the floor to waive interviews. There's a motion and a second on the floor to waive interviews.
You know, just if.
Okay,
if
no,
I
Jack
might,
made a good point though. So-
During during COVID, you know, I went from face-to-face meetings, which I really enjoyed, because, I mean, you can read body language, you can sit down and look at somebody in the eye and make a determination as to whether they're trying to sell you a bill of goods. Not that I'm saying that this company is, but for the 3 years that I did Zoom meetings, 2 or 3 Zoom meetings a day, I felt I lost a lot. And again, I get back to the point that if we can get this accomplished with no additional funding and we can do it expeditiously, I think that, you know, we are spending a lot of money for the citizens of the town of Canton. $200,000 to me is an awful lot of money. It's my tax money, it's your tax money. If we can get it done expeditiously at no additional cost, I would be highly in favorable of a face-to-face meeting. I'm done with Zoom.
alternative.
Mr. Kelly, we're asking a vendor to come with 1 week's notice, maybe not even a week's notice, you know.
but
From
you
California.
But
just,
they
you
may
just
be able to
stated
do it.
that
They
they
may be able
knew
to do
the
it.
timeline.
I think they're a DC-based company.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
DC.
Okay. One, has travel been built into these proposals on their end? And if not, you need to be prepared to do Zoom for a lot of this stuff.
I don't believe there's any
Second-
travel.
There's never an allowance when you're gonna have a finalist and come in for an interview. That's on them. If they wanna get the ultimate contract, they show up and they present, and they pay their own bills.
The second important factor is what you're asking them in an interview in a government capacity. There needs to be some uniformity to what you're interviewing them about.
Well, that-
And then some methodology about how you rank, just like you did tonight,
Yeah.
their responses to that, so you wouldn't have to have your ducks in a row before you do that.
I agree, but, you know, I mean, that would be the same whether it be over Zoom or face-to-face.
Correct.
Yeah.
But there are two different items here. One is how you communicate on a regular basis.
I'm just expressing my own personal belief, being the fact that, you know, for many years of my professional careers, I was able to sit down across a table with somebody and trust my gut, have eye-to-eye contact, and quite frankly, For the 3 years that I did Zoom, I would give it a 0.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to withdraw my motion on the floor. I had made a motion and it was seconded. I think we can withdraw it. Is that right? Yeah. So Jack made a great point. My motion was to, because of the difference, that Five Stones and Ranks Ohio Lane was the lowest price bid, but Jack made a good point. So I would like to withdraw that motion, and I'd like to make a new motion that we invite the top 2 for an interview as expeditiously as possible.
Very good.
Mr. Chair, we have to set a meeting date for next week to stay on target
We
and
will try
and
for
reserve
next
a
week. If
room.
there's nothing available, it won't happen.
This is a big town, there's gotta be a place
Yeah.
available.
Gotta make it work.
We'll work on it.
Are we gonna?
We had St. Gerard's.
We have, the first motion is, let's go through the first motion.
Yeah, that we have
We
two-
invite the top 2.
for an interview. Okay.
We have that big turn.
It's been seconded, so it's seconded. All in favor?
Wait, what's the,
That we invite the top 2 for an interview.
okay.
Okay, so it's all, are you in favor?
I'm open to Zoom as well, because,
That was the next motion I was gonna make. Let's vote on it.
okay,
Let's
yes,
vote on it.
I'll vote on the motion to
All right,
to
so
conduct
that-
the interviews.
That passes 5-0. And do you want to make the motion or should I?
Sure, you can make it.
I'd like to make a motion that it be up to the companies, whether they're able to come from California or not, or in one case, the East Coast, and that it be their choice, whether it be in person or Zoom. Is there a second?
And facilitated with the IT director.
Yeah, of course.
For setup. And I would second that.
Discussion?
I still feel there's so many nuances that come when you are in person. And there's subtleties in terms of body language, just how they do their presentations. This is lost on a Zoom. I am opposed to anything but in person, because this is, and this was stated numerous times, get it right.
Okay.
And I feel that the only way we're gonna get it right between the 2 is in person.
All right, so let's vote then, because I think that's going to fail, so, which is fine, that's
Your
democracy.
motion is what?
That it be up to the firms themselves, whether they come in person or be on Zoom.
And that's seconded?
Second.
Yeah, it is seconded.
Okay, all those in
Aye.
favor? Opposed?
Okay. I'd like to make another motion, and I want to do this as delicately as possible. I would like to motion that Dave be our outreach person to these 2 firms, as someone who has a very professional demeanor and is able to speak to other business people, and would present a very good face for Canton, that he be designated as the outreach person for these firms.
Second.
Discussion?
I'm fine with Dave handling that. This is,
I think we just want to get it done.
we want it done,
Yeah, fine.
exactly.
I don't want to be in the way of it, so, all those in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
All right.
Nice.
And when are you gonna discuss the methodology for the interviews?
I was just gonna say, after doing a lot of interviews, usually there's a script and you each ask the exact same question.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
If
Yes,
you
thank you very
agree
much.
to
I'm sure
deviate,
David's aware of that, and he will provide us with the script.
Yep, then like a follow-up for their
Have
answer.
I been nominated the chair?
Can we, does that require, well, you're sort of the liaison, so does that require another vote, or would that be part of the
No,
job?
that's part of the job.
Okay, good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any
So I need to
other-
come up with questions.
No, you-
So can you say your preference is to have them here in person, but if they choose Zoom, they might use it because of Zoom? You don't want to, if they can't get here.
I think we voted that, it was 3-2.
Yeah, we tried to.
They have to be here. They have to be here, is that what it is?
Yeah, Dave will explain, yeah,
Yeah.
Dave can explain that.
Yeah.
Primary team members, like if they have 3
The people
people
are all
on a
coming
project,
from
who has to
Oh,
go in person?
eh,
Maybe they send one person.
The
in.
project
Right.
manager should be probably.
Right.
They'll just send one person, they're not gonna
Right.
send a team.
But I would just like to point out that the OIG office, which is kind of against interviews, but whatever,
15, 16,
that-
18. 15, 16, 18.
15, 16, 18?
can I just make a point that,
I'm taking more. 17th, that's the only night I'm not
Which
available.
one?
17th.
No, 17.
It's good to have your calendar in hand.
When you have a lot of kids, you have a lot of birthdays.
I hear you.
Actually, 2 points, Mr. Chairman. When we're deciding the dates, I mean, Dave and I both have young kids, so we have childcare. I mean, we haven't been consulted at all so far when we're setting dates. And of course, we're gonna move heaven and earth, but it just, rather than getting like, something in the middle that says, now this, in 2 days, we just need a little, it would be helpful, we would love more collaboration regarding the dates, or if possible, in a collegial manner.
Interviews, could they be starting at, say, like 3 or 4 in the afternoon? Are you available then? Dan, Jack?
I am.
Perhaps.
4 on would be a little better to get the kid home from school and settled, like it just, if possible. But, this is, obviously, I'm gonna make it work.
Those 3 dates, I could make it work.
All right, starting at 4?
What are the dates?
4, yeah.
We've got the 15th, 16th, and the 18th.
Well, this obviously has to work for the people we're reaching out to because they're flying in.
That's what we're starting with.
16th, 18th.
And I did want to make a point to something the OIG said, which is to make sure that you don't get like marketing people. And I know that you've already made this point, but I just wanted to reiterate it.
They should send the team in that they're gonna be.
Exactly. Exactly.
If we don't see the team, that's not a good reflection on who they are.
Right. But it was a good warning, I thought, from the OIG to like, well, who's coming? And I understand that point was already made, but I was just emphasizing it.
And what if none of the interviewees show up?
They're out.
No,
Is it a no-show?
We go to CARE at 1.5 million.
no. That doesn't mean you gotta get one of them.
One of them will show up.
Question?
There's also a reflection of their commitment if they don't show up.
Yeah, they may have other commitments though, I mean, it's a short time frame.
For the Monday holiday.
Go ahead.
Oh, with a Monday.
At some of the selectmen meeting and some of the audit meetings before, it had been discussed that more money might be available. If the group that you folks actually want is going to put in a little more money for travel, I would highly suggest that you highly consider that.
No. That's a bad example to lead to. When they bid on this, they know, it said in there, we may have interviews. They have to put it into their overall budget. If they can't commit enough to come in and do the interview, they don't want the job.
Wednesday,
Understood.
one of the dates.
Yes, I believe it. And Mr. Chair, Ms. Halley is undergoing cancer treatment, and I don't believe it's ever asked her that her schedule be provided. I believe one of those dates she has an appointment that we may have to cross off the board. I think it's
I'm having
the
chemo.
16th.
You've got 3 dates right here. You're gonna make the call to the 2 of them, see what you can do in cooperation, in consultation with Kathleen.
I'm just making the point that I will not be available all day on the 16th because I'm having chemo.
Okay, that's more
So that
than.
means it's 2 dates. So that means it's 2 dates. So maybe you can get a date in the next week in case they have to go to the next week, so they have 3 options to come in.
What do you have in the next week? Jack?
And that's fair.
I'm good with the exception of the 17th.
17th?
I'm good with the exception of the 17th.
I could zoom in from the hospital bed, but,
She's having chemo and then she's sick generally 3 days later, so.
Well, no, I'm okay, though, they give you steroids, so you're fine like for 2 days, and then not so bad.
Looking
So they're gonna give it extra dates the week after.
There's holidays,
Because it's a short week
Wednesday.
anyways.
Okay,
What day is the chemo?
Wednesday, the 16th?
So the week of the 21st, if they can't, that would leave us with 2 days, the 15th and the 18th.
And
If we can't do that-
I'm not even in state.
Hmm?
I'm out of state from the 21st through the 29th.
Okay. So,
Well, maybe Zoom could be a last alternative. I mean, you don't wanna
Someone
lose
out of
somebody
state.
because they
How
can't
about
do
if we
it.
start with those 2 dates and see how it works
yeah,
out?
let's give it a shot and then
And
we'll,
if all else failed, we could revert to Zoom. Would that?
No, we can discuss it at that point in time as opposed to.
the last thing I wanna do is do a Zoom meeting.
But you also, the last thing you wanna do is keep delaying.
We're not gonna delay it.
We're not gonna delay it.
Let's
We
just
want
see
the,
if
we
can
want the
lock it
right
up.
person.
Let's see if we can
And-
lock it down.
Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying, and in person is definitely the way you wanna be.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? Mr. Chair?
Can I ask a question? Will the interview process be open to the public?
Yeah.
Thank you.
As long as everyone's quiet, because the questions are gonna come from here to the interviewees,
I'm just asking.
and we don't want anything interfering with it. Yeah,
Absolutely,
it's a public meeting,
Thank you.
and it'll try to be in
Not
a
here.
larger, but I don't know what's available. Right now, because the election's coming up, the salary is not available because that's we're doing early voting.
What about like the cafeteria at the high school or local schools?
With everything going on in the schools, it's almost impossible to get a room.
Yeah,
What about the learning?
Okay, can we?
Library possible.
Library.
Oh, that's a lovely idea.
School, where school committee, maybe where the school committee meets. I mean, how busy?
I think there's gonna be the Armando Center, the Senior Center, those are other
What about with
places.
the library, that big,
Well,
the big thing with
we
the
gotta get a
library?
date. We get a date to do it. We'll get someplace.
Yeah, community room or.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned at 9 o'clock.